Good evening. This is Ron G on WSAN Radio, the evening show with the Impact Hour with Joseph Lee. All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. This is Ron G here on WSAN Radio, and I know you've been waiting for this. And he is back. Joseph Lee is back with us a couple weeks, taking care of some things, but we know how that is. We got to do what we need to do. And so he's back, and we're going to just do what we do best, talk about mental health, what we're going to do after the election. And I think I was talking to Martha a couple Mondays ago, and we were talking about that offline. And she said, Ron, we're going to need some help. We don't have enough people out here to help people because it's going to get chaotic out there. I said, it's chaotic now, but it's going to get worse after the election, whoever wins. I was telling her, I talked to this one lady, and I asked her, so what happens if the person win that you don't want to win? She said, point blank, Toby, she's got her dual citizenship set up already. I said, what you mean? Where you going? She said, to Ireland. I started laughing. I said, is it that bad? She said, sir, I'm being serious. It's that bad. I don't want nothing to happen, but are you okay mentally? She said, mentally, I'm fine. I'm okay. I won't accept it. And I said, then mentally, you're not fine because you're already saying you're not going to do something that haven't even happened yet. And she looked at me and said, are you a shrink? I said, no, but I know a bunch of them. That's what I told her. I know my share of them, but she was good with it, and she just she is really horrified of what's going on right now, because she said, "What's going on right now? Listen to him speak, and you listen to Mussolini, and what's the other guy? The two other guys talking. He sounds just like them."
You said Mussolini?
Mussolini. He said
right.
He sounds just like them. First, he want to tear apart the Justice Department, then the schools, then take over how things go on the airwaves. He said he's saying it point blank. And she said, "What I don't get is he's saying it, and everybody's done. Oh well, that's just Trump. That's That's not just nothing. We can't sit back on this, and that is the reason why." Joseph, in Barrett County, on the first day of early voting, we had 46,000 something people who voted. The very next day, we had 48,000 and something. It ended up with almost 96,000 people voted in 2 days. I don't know what the numbers is like today, but that's showing it's record breaking all over the United States where early voting is going.
You know, first of all, that makes me very excited to hear that in the states that you get numbers like that, because historically, when large numbers of people vote like that, from what I know, and now I'm putting my political science, hat on from my undergrad years. My undergrad degree is in political science. I've looked at data and research before, and anytime there's large numbers of people, that tends to historically to be good for Democratic votes. Right.
Yeah.
Historically. So I think last time in the last election in San Antonio, the election went blue in San Antonio. So that should be possibly an indication of some good things potentially. Right. The other thing is, if that's an indicator of other areas, from what I'm hearing, voting is way up. That is a good thing, and I'm excited. Sometimes I get things a little late, having some problems with my my international app where I get my news and all that, and I've had to look at different things. But I'm just now seeing the powerful rally that Eminem and Barack Obama was at. So I think, and I'm hearing I'm seeing some ads. Trump made some pretty big mistakes in saying some bad things about Detroit, because
Yes.
My wife is from Detroit, and one of the strongest women I've ever known, beating cancer twice. And I'm working this in. Notice how I worked in the cancer awareness, because it's Cancer Awareness Month. And I'm also going to work in mental health as well, because beating cancer, this woman has done it beautifully. And if you see my wife, you'll never know what she's gone through. And you better be careful when you talk about disrespecting the resilience of the people of Detroit, because they are very serious about the work and the history and the legacy that they have. And if you're not from Detroit, you probably shouldn't speak too much about Detroit. Or if you're not affiliated strongly with people from Detroit. Some of the greatest people I know, and one that I love more than anybody else other than my daughter on earth, comes from Detroit. And I can tell you, she is strong and resilient, and so is the people of Detroit. And I don't think that's an insult. I think that's a compliment to be like Detroit, in terms of the resilience of what they've gone through with the struggles of GM and turning things around. You got to be careful. And then look at the Lions. Come on now. The Lions whooped the heck out of Dallas. So yeah, think about it. 49-7, something like that. I don't think he was paying attention, but that's what happens when you have somebody that's detached from the people and reality. They start speaking out of the left or right side of their mouth and not the front side of their brain. You know what I'm saying? Or the part of their brain. And there's some problems there, right? And I think that we've got to look at the effect and the mental health aspect of, you know, tearing down and constantly going at each other and seeing each other as enemies and all that. There are some very disturbing things that are coming out about the affiliations with Trump and Putin. And, I think people need to really look at, why he's coming off as more of a fascist than a democratic leader. I think you have to look at why he was able to sit there while one of the institutions were being decimated and desecrated, and just sit there and watch it as if he was watching, an episode of the Apprentice. This was real life, and I'm wondering if he understands the significance. But there are somebody that seems to understand the significance that's on that ballot, and that's Kamala Harris. And I think she's going to. I think it's going to be an upset, to be honest with you. I think this election is not going to be as close as it needs to be, not to um, have people not go to the ballot box. But I think there's going to be a huge deciding factor in this election, and I think it's going to surprise a whole lot of people. And I thought about this the other day as I looked at my daughter and my wife. I think it's a whole lot of women who are going to show up at that ballot box and they're going to vote Democratic because they understand that if they don't, they're slapping themselves in the face. And I think it's a whole lot of votes that Trump is counting on, and they're probably going to the rallies and saying all that. But when they go into that ballot box, I think they're going to vote their conscience. And I'm going to give you an example why, Ron. See, we don't know nothing about this because we're not women. But I do know that when women get together, they have a biological ability to connect, and they also have a psychological ability to connect. And I'll tell you how that works, because now I'm getting into psychology a little bit. When women have a child, they develop a maternal instinct. Think about all the mothers that have daughters. Now, you think about those mothers going into that ballot box, thinking about their daughters, and they have the choice of a president that talked about grabbing women by their crotch, and he didn't say crotch, and also proud of the fact that he reversed Roe v. Wade. Now, what do you think those women are going to do when they get into that ballot box that have daughters, that have children? I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to go the way they think it's going to go, because I think they're going to connect on the fact that even though I may have a strong political affiliation, I have a higher affiliation to the protection of my child that I have currently and the rights that are being possibly taken away. And I don't see a lot of women walking away from that. They may say they are because they maybe keep their husband happy, but how's he going to know?
That's true.
How's he going to know? So it's a whole, and I can guarantee you that scenario is going to play out. I'd be highly surprised if you know, and now don't get me wrong. I know that there's a lot of people saying, yeah, but that love for their daughter might not be as strong as their hatred towards other people, right? That's probably what some other people are saying, right?
Yeah.
But I beg to differ because there's a little part of their mind that remembers, you know, somebody in their family was raised by a black person. Somebody, they know in their that conscience somewhere in there is saying that's not right, and I can't afford to be wrong and oppress my daughter too. So I think them ballots, if you vote your conscience and your reason, I think I think a lot of women are going to and do that maternal connection a lot of women have. I think it's going to be a surprise in that ballot box. At least that's what I'm thinking logically is going to happen. And there's been some heavy hitters that have come out for Kamala. Now, what I don't understand is this Elon Musk situation.
Oh, he's
It's a whole lot of people with Teslas right now that are wishing they could return it. I saw a bumper sticker on a Tesla, man. I had to almost pull over because it says something to the effect of, uh, I bought this before I knew Elon Musk had lost his mind or something. I said, who put this bumper sticker? I wanted to shake his hand. I'm like, man, you got me out here laughing. That was better than any comedy show I've seen. It was a white Tesla out here, and it said, I bought this before I knew Elon Musk had lost his mind. So people are really understanding this thing a little bit more than I think people, because now Teslas are looking like an advertisement for a mistake.
well, you know where that one mistake came from. He's out of business now, my pillow guy.
Oh, he went out of business?
Well, he's basically out of business. Nobody, I mean, they pulled all his products I know from Walmart and other places. They're not selling it anymore. It's only order online. So he pretty well got ran down and see what this dude got to look at. California is mainly liberals, and therefore taking care of the environment. That's where all the Teslas are bought from the liberals in California. If they turn around and get rid of them bad boys, and now we got GM and everybody else with electric cars, they may say, forget this.
I'm gonna tell you something. You remember the Cadillac Escalade truck?
Yeah.
Pretty nice looking truck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Designed by an African American male, if I remember correctly. And you've got the technology and the swag. And I'm gonna tell you something. Let's just be real. We set the standard on a lot of the cars that we want to see and we want to buy. So, I think that GM is in a very strong spot to, have to compete in that market of the what do you call it, the engines that are green engines or electric engines and all that. And that Hummer is bad. I don't know if people have seen it. It's not in the price range for a lot of folks, but it's a bad vehicle, right? And they'll go down in price, eventually. But I think we're in a new, I kind of love the slogan of turning the page because we kind of have to, and we kind of have to pull our dependency on places from China and other places and depend on American ingenuity. That plan that was trying to get the chips made at Texas Instruments in Texas, they need to revisit that or wherever they're going to put it because we need to continue to rely on us because allergies with all this typhoon stuff, a lot of stuff is kicking up, mold and everything. And that got my allergies on 20,000. But anyway, so we need to understand that this thing is bigger and we need adults in the room that really understand international markets, not just talking about it.
Yeah.
And people think that what I can't understand is people think that Trump is this big genius when it comes to, economic, international markets and international business. The man inherited $400 million and went bankrupt how many times? And what
Oh,
makes him help me understand how he's an expert on anything other than loopholes and scams? I don't understand that. Now, most people in the United States don't even know who the top three economies are in the world. I'm living in the third greatest economy right now in the world, and it's Japan. And Japan is this little country, but it's got the third strongest economy in the world. Now, how is that? Why is that? It's because they understand markets and they understand culture and they understand taking care of their own. So this computer that I'm talking to you on right now, got it? It's a MacBook Pro, right? If I tried to take this and trade it back because I'm from America, they wouldn't accept it. Why? Because they don't want the currency to go that way, where I'm taking a product. Well, no, I'm sorry. The computer I bought in America, they wouldn't buy it. They only want me to buy the one that was here in Japan. Now, here's the thing. The one in Japan, I have extra features. I have Japanese keys and things. I have a whole different format. So they put a little extra into it, and then they only will allow me to buy, not to return things to their economy that they're going to get a disadvantage or hit financially. And all their people know it. So they knew that they couldn't, because I tried to trade my old computer in, to see if I can get a new one. So I just kept it. I got two. One stays, at a secure location, and one, I can take with me because it's confidential information on it. But I said, wow, look at how they use this and how we are so busy fighting amongst ourselves, and they're just sitting back watching while we do stupid stuff, and they're continuing to move up the ladder. So China, so is worried about competing when they should be worried about their infrastructure and why these companies are thinking about leaving them, like Apple. And look at and other companies, because but we have to keep an eye on China. Don't get me wrong, they are a threat to us in terms of they're to me, China is the old Russia, and we have to pay attention and be mindful of what they're doing, as well as looking at this conflict in Russia. But in terms of getting on mental health, I kind of got off I'll track on a tangent there. You got me going on about this election stuff, but what I will say is, we got a war going on in our community with cancer. This is Cancer Awareness Month, and I want to talk about some strategies, right? For those of us that are going through cancer battles or will go through, you really need to, and I want to give a shout out to, well, I can't give out this information, but, I would just say this. I had a powerful men's church retreat that I went to. So Koza Baptist Church here in Okinawa, we had a powerful retreat, and a lot of people talked about things. And there's someone who, I don't want to give out their information, that's going through a battle with cancer, because my wife had two bouts of cancer, and we kind of lean on each other. And this person is a leader in the church, and has a family member is going through a significant battle with cancer. And I kind of gave him some of the war tools that I use, and part of it was, a huge part of that was my faith. And you really need to, when you're going through a battle with cancer, have people around you that are supportive. You would be surprised, Ron, at how many husbands leave their wife when they're going through a bout of cancer. That blew my mind. I couldn't imagine leaving my wife while she's fighting something like that. And we had more than one bout of it. Um,
and it says in the wedding vows for
in sickness and in health. Now, um, without going into too much detail, you got to be careful because now later on in life, I had a bout with a health issue. And my wife, it couldn't, she stood up so quick and is actually trained and was actually a nurse in the issue that I am having. See how that works?
Yeah.
So it's important that you under your vows because you you don't know. One day you might turn around and need somebody to have your back
Right.
spiritually and pray you through and support you. But I just talking about fortunately, thank praise God, I haven't had cancer, but I can tell you from being in the battlefield and being in the being a support for someone that has cancer, um, you need to know that you can play a very important role in helping to support someone that has cancer by being there, being a support, praying, letting them know it's going to be okay, and leaning on your faith. And me personally, scripture, I held it up, to God, and said that my wife was going to come through this, and prayed her through it, prayed with her, stayed with her, and everything the doctors told me, I told them to say, "You are a great practitioner, but I have to go to the source of healing, and they're going to give me the answers, and they're going to be the ones that do the healing. You're practicing." And this is what I used to tell, this is what I would say, that we're talking about the practice of medicine, and I think you should utilize the practice of medicine, but God is not practicing. He knows exactly what he's doing. So
Exactly.
that's what you have to understand, and you got an ability to pray directly to him. So if I'm going to just say that for me, for being a believer, being a Christian, you have an excellent resource, and I can give you the evidence that it works because my wife is still here and my child is here because I believe the healing and the anointing and my faith in what God was going to do, and God actually doing what he said he would do. Now, that's my story and that's my experience. Now, everybody doesn't fare that way because it's always the will of God that will prevail. But I could say prayer changes things. So stay in prayer when and get in prayer. And if you don't know God, you better. This is a great time to find Him and
Mhm.
understand. I'm talking about Jesus too. I don't know about I know I'm in Japan and people pray to different stuff. That's cool, but for them, but for me, it's Jesus and it's the Lord, and that's what's worked for me. And I highly suggest that you know Him. Um, that's what's worked for me. That's my toolkit and look at the results. So if you
Yeah.
look at anything, you look at the results, right? Well, you can talk to my result. You can talk to God's result. You can talk to my wife. You can talk to my daughter, and you see me. That's the result of prayer, listening, supporting, loving, and being a part of being honoring my vows of what I said I was going to be to my wife, because that's what we do. And you got to understand something about marriage. A marriage is not just an agreement between a man and a woman. A marriage is a covenant between you and God. Now, people need to understand what that means. And when you break a covenant between God, I wouldn't want to be in that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to be in that. People need to look up what happens when you break a covenant with God. See, because if you leave your wife, you break up with your wife, that's one thing, but you were usually joined under God, right? So God is in that covenant. So because my wife got sick, how dare I think about leaving the woman that I vowed to be with in sickness and in health? So that's just how I look at it. Make sure you have somebody that's serious about their vows before you walk across that aisle.
Yeah.
That's what I don't care how cute she looks. I don't care how handsome you think he is. Well, I don't care about the money. I don't care about any of that. You better make sure you got somebody that is serious about those vows, because if something comes along sickness wise, you need to make sure that he's not going to pop smoke and not care about his covenant. And a lot of times, be honest with you, a lot of people are divorced before they paid off the wedding.
That's not funny, but it's funny.
But it's real. I
They
mean, I know people.
Yeah, they're going
Uh,
to debt for it.
they are divorced before they done paying off the wedding. It
And
don't
then,
make any sense.
and then in
You know,
divorce, of course, they're fighting over who's going to finish paying off the wedding. You know,
I don't, and I don't know. I just, say that people really we've got to return back to some good old school, um, things where you actually date for a while. You get to know somebody. You get to see how they're going to handle situations. And sometimes, but you better know one thing about yourself, that you're committed to these vows, because there's going to be some times when you wake up and you look at the person and you go, uh-oh, they getting on my nerves today. Hey, whatever. You fall in and out of love, but you better make sure that you uh love that person, and you are going to honor that covenant, because love will return. You got, a old man gave me some good advice, and I don't know if I'm talking to some people. This went off the track a little bit, but it's still very much here, because it's all about how you maintain and stay in a healthy relationship. And this is something, I think, for the marriage series that we're going to do. But this old man told me something when I was young, and trying to figure out, if I was going to be married or how to be married, because he's been married for about the length of time that I've been married. And I couldn't even fathom being married 20 years, or, you know, 30 years. I was trying to figure out how you could stay married 2 years, or date for 9 months. I didn't, So I said, how do you know? He said, well, you know your wife when you can look in her face and know that you can love her for the rest of your life. And I was like, what does that look like? What what kind of face would that be? But you know what? I started thinking about it. So then when I saw that face, I knew, people that know our story knew my wife had somewhat of a interesting dating period with me. No surprise, right? That when she walked up the stairs, I knew that was my wife, because I knew what I was looking for.
yeah.
And I was also ready for marriage in my mind and in my spirit. Maybe not financially at that particular moment, but I knew I was prepared too, because I did have a degree. I had two. I just was in a city that, in a place that really didn't have the opportunities I needed, at that point, that I had to, go and get the rest of my education and opportunities and all that. But the fact of the matter is, God will prepare you if you are earnestly seeking to be what you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women, they marry, and this is powerful. I'm talking to a lot and this is, believe it or not, about cancer awareness, because this is, if you have a husband, if you think about getting married, and this is before you get cancer, if you have cancer, you got to, pray your husband to be the man that God, needs him to be for you. But before you get married, you need to know this man has really thought through what could happen in life. You know, you have to be able to think it through. You have to understand that you can end up in a situation where, you know, uh, you're going to have a struggle, and it's not going to be, it can't just be about physical attraction. Because what happens if you get into a car accident and you're disfigured? Is the person going to leave then? See, you got to think about these things. Are you loving somebody because they're cute, because they're a good man or woman, or because your friends think they're attractive? We have to mature in our understanding of what relationships or marriages are, and if we don't, we will never have a mature marriage. That makes sense, right?
Yep.
Does it sound like it makes sense? And does it, if you think it through, does it make sense? Well, then, let's stop talking about marriage until you're mature enough to actually do it.
Because there'd be some things thrown at you that you didn't even think about when you walk down that aisle later on in life. It's some stuff that's like health issues is one thing. Um, Bringing kids into the world is another thing. And
Financial issues.
yes, the financial part is number one. you should be able to cope with everything if you're financially ready to do it. Don't start living like the Joneses, as we used
Right.
to say back in the days. And then you find out, and no, I'm glad you said financial. I talked to somebody the other day. He said he's on top of the world. He's living everything he want to live. I said, so what do you mean? He said, man, I'm successful with my business. I got this $600,000 house. I got 2 cars. I got a jet ski, and I'm making enough money to pay on everything. I said, that don't sound like success to me. He said, what do you mean? I said, successful in you can sit down there after you went through all the hard times in life, you look up, house paid for, cars paid for, you're retired, you in your good life, you have nothing to worry about. But a lot of people make a mistake stating that if they can have all this on credit, they made it.
I know somebody that has that similar thought process, that is looking at their credit as a means of success. But what they don't understand is that credit is just that. That is something that's not owned. That's something that's somebody owns you, right? That's a whole different ball game. But I think, when you marry somebody, you need to make sure they truly understand finances, and they are bringing to the table what they need to bring to the table. And what I was going to get to earlier is that a lot of people, a lot of women in particular, marry the potential of a man instead of the man in front of them.
Good point.
And I don't know, if I'm speaking to anybody today, you need to understand who you have in front of you is who you're marrying. A person may never reach their potential. And in fact, if you marry them before they have reached their potential, you may handicap them from actually getting there. Okay? A wife cannot make a man. A man has to be a man before he has a wife. You're putting the cart before the horse.
And say that again. Say that again.
All right. So somebody get a pen and paper down, because they probably gonna need this. And this is a free impact hour message. A woman cannot make a man or a husband. A man has to be a man or a husband before he has a wife. You are putting the cart before the horse.
Mm.
And it's going to be hard to work. Now, you might get to your destination, but you're going to do it backwards, because the horse is supposed to be in front of the cart, meaning that the man is supposed to lead by design. That is how it was designed. That is how we were designed. That is how spiritually God designed it. And I know people are thinking, oh, you're chauvinist and all that. Sit down. Listen. If you go to the forest, if you go to the wildlife, there is an order. God did not create this universe in disorder. He created it in order. Man is designed to lead spiritually, financially for a large part or significantly, the household. And he's supposed to leave a legacy and wealth spiritually and financially for his children's children. That's what's supposed to happen. Now, if you're dealing with a man that's got more Jordans than he does money, you're dealing with a boy, not a man. If you're dealing with a man who's more concerned with his car than his child and his family, and his cars or his house or anything material, than he is in his family, then you're dealing with a boy, not a man. I'm not saying that a man doesn't want a nice car. A man wants attractive and beautiful things. That's why he's seeking you out. But at no point should you feel less of a priority, or your child should feel less of a priority than the material things that he has. That's a child. And as I was a child, with childish things. As a man, I focus on adult things.
Yep.
A lot of women are marrying children thinking they have a man. Then they're wondering why they're raising a whole bunch of kids, feeling like their husband is a kid. That's because he is. He
Yeah,
is.
I hear that from some women. I gotta go take care of my kids. I said, how many you got? Three. That's all you got is two. I'm
Now,
counting.
I'm not talking about when we get sick, because all guys become kids. Because I don't want to do nothing but eat uh what do you call that? Chicken noodle soup and play my video game when I'm sick. I revert right back to kick because I don't feel like doing nothing. And you sleep, eat, and play a video game or just whatever. And I've been doing that since I was a little kid, if I was sick. But hey, but I'm handling my business too. So that's it. There's nothing wrong with staying the inner child, but your inner child should not impede upon the man that you're supposed to be that provides and protects your family. And that's what your job is. Now, if you're doing that, then yeah, a woman can submit to something like that. That's what makes you the head of your household, not because you have this strength and this appointment. You have a responsibility by God to be that provider and to be that example. And that's what they submit to. Now, a lot of women aren't used to seeing an example of a man operating in his authority and in his presence. So, if they've never seen that, if they've never had a dead father or grandfather or any man that wasn't trying to do only around them, but to do something inappropriate, then they try to take on the responsibility of being a man.
Yeah.
But again, a woman can't be a man. I don't care how she does it. She can't be a man because she's not ordained to be one. God doesn't change his order because it's not convenient or politically correct. It doesn't work like that. Now, I'm not saying a woman can't raise a man because women have been doing that and holding down the communities forever. But maybe that's probably why we have so many problems in our communities because we're out of order. Why you have so many gender issues and emasculated men because women are maybe doing more than what they should be, and men haven't stood up to a lot of men haven't stood up to where they're supposed to be in the
Mm.
house. I don't know. That's not for me to say. But what I will say is this: in terms of marriage, you got to make sure that man is a man, and usually I would say a man of God, because the only person that can have a man love the way he's supposed to through those situations, through those struggles, or a woman to love through those situations, through those struggles, is God. He's got to, that's why you're having that covenant with God, because he's the only one that's going to be able to help you to love somebody enough to give you the strength to help you navigate you through a battle with cancer.
Yeah. So true.
Now I'm giving what I know and what I've walked. Now somebody else might have a different view of it, but I don't know, man. I know if I ever get sick, I want my wife to intervene and pray for me like I prayed for her. And I know that she does that. And the challenges and the things that I go through, you would not listen. I can show you what they gave us in this men's retreat. Everybody see that?
Yeah. That metal.
That's, yeah, that medal. That's a coin. In the military, they give you a coin when you've done a great thing. So this is the coin. And I've got a few coins. I'm not going to show all my business, but here's another coin I've got, from a military organization or whatever, uh, for some work that I've done, but some things that I've done. But here's a coin, right? And you see, it's an angel with a sword, and his head is bowed, right? Now let me read the inscription. Uh, Iron, so one person sharpens another, as iron sharpens iron. Anybody heard that one before? And on the other side of that, Proverbs 27:17, pray always. This is what I'm talking about in terms of knowing what your responsibility is. You are to intercede, pray, and fight for your family, and you're going to need to lean on other people, men of God, to help you to keep your strength, to stay strong, to continue to pray for your family. And that's why we went to that men's retreat. So we could be like, okay, my family's going through this, I'm going through that. Lord, we're coming and asking for help and strength to do what you have asked us to do. And then you go back to your families. I've always had people that I could pray with and pray for me to help me through. My brothers. So check out that movie, The Forge. Everybody get a chance to see it. It's on Amazon and Apple Plus TV. Check out The Forge if you haven't seen it, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I can tell you, I think I'm a pretty good therapist, but I know the perfect counselor, and that's Jesus. And I can tell you, I've worked with people that are non-believers, and I work with believers, and get to know who he is. And I can tell you from what I've seen, the people that are of faith always do better in terms of their healing and their overall well-being. They just do better.
Yeah.
No, that's all what I can say. Now, I'm not saying that other people. I can give you the methodology and the treatment plan and different things to deal with the cognitive behavioral results, and we can do all that. But I'm just telling you, if you want to know what works, I'm telling you what works the best. And my job as a therapist is to work myself out of a job. If I'm talking to you after 2 years on the same thing, somebody failed.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Now I might transfer over to life coaching, and after a certain point, because people just say, hey, you know what, I love how you did the clinical piece. Now I appreciate the life coaching, and that's why Impact Collaboration came along. I'm blessed to have some therapists that like, I guess, the style of my approach of counseling as well as my life coaching. But then I've got great people like Martha that are phenomenal, that I've sought out, that I see have the gift of knowing how to help and elevate people's lives. And she has a phenomenal life coaching training going that we've got our life coaches going through, a few of our life coaches going through. We've got clinicians that can go through it. I mean, it's just we've got a lot of help that's needed out there, and we've got to have people with the talent and ability, and I'd say the anointing to do what they are designed to do, and with people's houses and families and lives that come along to us. So, Martha does a great job, and we'll be working together. The Impact Collaboration team, everybody there. You can go to the website, iccsmi.com, and check it out, see who's there. Kind of like my sister Dale, phenomenal life coach, clinician, clinical person there. Craig Washington, phenomenal pastor, life coach, working with the youth. I've got Tomas Henderson up in New York, does great work working with the kids and life coaching, skill building. Dr. Sean C. Does great work, dealing with the LGBTQ community, family issues, things of that nature. Man, we've got hitters. We've got hitters that are dealing with these issues, and we're ready. Impact Team is going to be one of those that's ready and to help with what's going to be going on after the election and all the attacks of the enemy, because the enemy attacks families just like Hezbollah attacked Gaza. They come in a lot of different ways and do a lot of different attacking women, attacking kids, attacking all kind of stuff. So you have to understand how to fight against the enemy. Now, I'm not trying to get into this Gaza situation. I'm just trying to give an example. You can use Al Qaeda. You can use anybody. You can use any terrorists because demonic forces are terrorists. Mental illness, and then breaking into a spiritual standpoint. When Jesus saw the man that had hearing all the voices, he said, "What was your name? Legion, for that's many." Doesn't that sound like schizophrenia?
Hmm.
all those voices, right?
Mhm.
Having audible voices. So there's a very interesting line between spiritual and psychotic. And sometimes that line is blurred. So you got to, that's why I love working with you. When a person tells me that they are Christian, which is interesting because I don't remember Christian ever being in the Bible, but I do know disciples were. That's a whole other discussion. But, talking about what's going on, you got to understand what you're fighting with and who you're fighting against and what you're fighting against.
You're right.
For a man to leave his wife fighting cancer, I'd say that's demonic. How do you leave somebody you claim to have loved and enter the covenant with God with? If you were even serious about it, or were you just was everything just a hustle?
Or as they always say, playing house.
Well, if you're gonna play house, you better not put God into it because you're not playing with house anymore. If you bring God into it, because last time I checked, God don't play. He's patient, but he don't play. And I'd say we probably want to be glad that we're living in grace because God really didn't play back in the day.
No, he did not.
So a lot of people, saved and unsaved, should be thanking God that we don't live in the old days because a lot of these people that play around, play house, uh, well, let's just say they wouldn't be playing the same way. Judgment would come probably a lot faster and be a lot more harsh. We talk about Sodom and Gomorrah about that. So, and other things. But, we talking about spirituality. That's fine. We're talking about mental health. That's kind of the marquee. But we talk about a lot of different things. But one thing I would say we're going to do on the impact hours, we're going to talk about truth and you know
Yeah.
and reality. And that's what we did. And
Yeah.
that's what we,
Let's go back to mental health.
or at least my truth in
Okay.
this regard. Yeah, let's go back.
Okay. Mental health. That has, back in the days, they didn't use the word mental health. That
Hmm.
person be in the room, and I remember you asked about your uncle. Don't worry, he's special. That's what we got. We didn't put mental health together back in the days growing up, but it's
Hmm.
been around for a long time.
Right.
But people weren't talking about it, and now it's on the forefront. We have to start talking about it, and it still seems like that's a taboo. People don't want to talk about that. They don't want nobody to know that one of the family members is like that. It's almost like, what was those saying you said on Joseph a while back? What happened in your house, staying in the house, that's the worst thing that can happen. You was telling us that. And people are still doing that. And mental health has just exploded since the pandemic.
COVID. Yeah,
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
It just blew up.
well, it blew up because everybody recognized what it was, right? We all recognized this vague term called anxiety because we all had it. We all had this, people's relationships got tested in ways they had never been tested before. People, when you could always leave home, go to work and get busy, you find ways of dealing with your spouse, knowing that I only have to deal with them a certain amount of time. But when you have to be around them all the time, you kind of the cracks in the relationship get big, fast. So a
Yeah.
lot of things, a lot of mental health, a lot of marriage counseling, a lot of things um, expanded to the point where even the natural boundaries of licensure even changed. You could see clients in most states, regardless of if you had a license in that state, because the need was so acute.
Yeah.
So they had special boundaries. I was seeing clients all over the world because I was one of the few that was doing virtual sessions before, the pandemic. So it became an issue because it became known and became more of a household name of just knowing that there was issues because everybody became more familiar with it. It became more acceptable because everybody was going through something.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that you hit on And I just wanted to paraphrase what I said, or go back to what I said, is that one of the biggest lies that people we put in out there is that what happens in this house stays in this house. That never is the case, because like I said back then, you know, what happens in your house goes on to another household when that child gets older, or it goes into the community, or it goes into the schools, or whatever the case may be, and they find a way to my office in one form or another, right? So we've got to look into our families, look into our lives, look into our relationships, and we have to do a hard look and a real look. And sometimes what we see, we're not going to like, but that's okay because we have help there. In therapy, we have parent nurturing classes. If you don't, if you, and here's the thing, if you've had parents that didn't know how to nurture you, it's kind of hard to learn how to nurture your child.
Right.
If you were only smacked in the back of the head and told boys don't cry, and you get up and you do what you need to do, and you suck it up and you keep it moving, you think that's nurturing. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes you don't have to push, but we got shoved. We got knocked out. We got hit with racetracks. We used to talk about our war injuries. Man, my mom hit me with an iron. My mom hit me with a racetrack. Man, my mom hit me with whatever is next to. We used to talk about all that stuff. And we used to joke about it. These kids call the police about
And not even that. They call about any little thing.
it. Yeah, I mean, it's a different time. It's a different situation. But we have to understand that if we didn't have the tools given to us correctly, it's going to be hard to figure out how to use tools that we weren't given. So that's what counseling is really about. They go, you know what, man, we really came up in a rough time, but you know what? They were only our parents are only going through and giving what they were given. And we keep passing down a lot of times this broken toolbox, and we think that we're going to have this Picasso. You can't build a Picasso, you can't build a fine work of art if you don't have the right tools.
Yes.
So, that's what counseling ultimately is about, is giving the right tools mentally, spiritually, psychologically, or helping you to get to that. If you have a seasoned therapist like me that works in all those domains. Now, some people just work with the modalities, with client-centered or client-focused, solution-focused, and if that works, then for you, great. If that's what if that, and those work too, those are science based modalities, and you will get science-based results, which you want when you go to a practitioner, but there's more to it than that. That's why you have hospitals that have spiritual themes, Krista Santa Rosa, why do you think that? You know what I'm saying? I know, shout out to San Antonio, Texas on that, but St. Mary's Hospital, all these things. I mean, we've learned a long time ago that there is a benefit to bringing spirituality and health together. That's what this whole mindfulness and whole holistic health thing is about. And it works. As I look at the East China Sea, that's kind of cloudy and all that. You meditate, looking at all that, you focus on those things. But for mental health, you've got to put all the pieces to the puzzle together, or you're going to have an incomplete picture. And some of us are going with the old tools. My mom didn't do that to me, boy. She just, told me this, and I better do it.
And you did
Okay.
it.
And you did it, yeah, because didn't nobody want to get what we got, but then you got to think about the inmates that I talked to, and it would say, yeah, I did what I had to do till I got around that corner.
Whole new different ball game then.
Yeah, then I become the parent. You're gonna do what I tell you to do because I can force you to do what I want you to do, because I can inflict the punishment now.
Yeah.
See? So that when I heard that, I was like, "Ooh, we got a problem." Because
It's not what it
because
used to be.
I know a whole lot of I knew quite a few people like that too. Where the punishment uh, became the policy. How was being they were being punished, so they're gonna punish the community.
Yeah. See, you was talking about that. Something is going on November 16th. This is a friend of mine. She called this thing the second annual One Go Fit Brain Health Fair.
Okay. Wow.
And they're gonna have discussion panels there, financial literacy. And one thing they're doing for all the veterans who want an LLC, they're giving out free LLCs. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, that she's got people out there, mental health people is going to be there, talking to people there. Since you brought that up, I said I was looking for it, and this is something that she's been doing. It's called Coach K. She's on my show every other Thursday, but
Okay.
he's got a lot of powerful people come to this deal on November 16th.
Outstanding. It sounds like a win. So I hope that it's supported. We've got to go. We've got to support stuff like that. You know, the workshops that we're going to be putting together here in the fall and next year. Ours will be online. So I'm hoping that we get all the listeners that are listening now to show up and tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody to show up.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have resources and folks. I mean, you might be able to meet with me or meet with one of the Impact Collaborator to team members on a particular area of their expertise. And we got to get out there, and we're going to put some good information out, that you can take home and put in your toolbox, so that you can, throw out maybe some bad tools and add some new ones and keep it moving. We're going to give some resources, books you can buy. Cognitive behavioral is about giving homework. So give out some homework, that you can do to help make your life better. That's what this is about.
True that. I know what you mean by that. So, but it's we're getting there, man. It's nothing's gonna happen overnight. You know,
Nothing. Yeah,
oh,
that's it.
what I bring this up is there's some people out there want this instant stuff, microwave stuff. If it took you 40 years to build up to this, it's not gonna happen overnight to get it fixed. It's gonna take
That
time and patience.
it is, brother. And we're gonna end on the note that I always say: your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. You have to act on the changes that you want to see in your life, and you have to be consistent with it. Like anything else in life, we had a garden, and I got 1 minute. I'm lay this out. I grew up with a garden next to me at my grandfather's and grandmother's house, and I saw the intentional work and the toil and the upkeep of keeping weeds and making sure that it was watered and keeping all the animals out. And our lives are like that garden, and we have to plant the seeds, prepare the soil. We have to make sure that we're patient for our fruit to grow, and then there will be a harvest.
Mm.
Life is not instant. My grandparents didn't go out there and drop some seeds on the ground one day and tomorrow go pick up fruit. That's not how it works.
Cultivate.
So the same thing is we have to cultivate the change that we want to see in our lives. And it's going to take some time, but it's possible. And the good thing about that is no matter how messed up our garden was or what we inherited, we can actually change the landscape and change and cultivate a good garden of our life so that we can provide some fruit, or God can help to provide that fruit and anoint that. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with my phone. I got stuff beeping and popping over here. So I guess that means it's 11 o'clock. So
Yeah.
with that said, brother, I appreciate
All
the
right.
opportunity to do this opportunity. And just remember, it's cancer awareness. Love somebody. Find out if somebody's disclosed they've got that. Make sure you support them. Make sure you love them. They need you. Pray for them. Be there and just be aware. Get your mammograms done. If you think something's going on, get it checked out. For Black African American males, we got to get that prostate checked. We've got to get those prostate exams, colonoscopies. We got to get it done. I know we don't want to do it, but we got to do it to be here. So we got to work on that. So other than that, that's what I got, and
Okay,
that's
my
what
brother.
I'm dealing with.
All right. We'll catch you next week.
All right. Your actions speak so loudly. Can't hear a word you're saying. I can hear what you're saying, Ron, because your actions meet your words, brother.
Uh-oh.
Uh, hey, support this station. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. Support this station. You know, people listen to this station, but we need to support stations like this. You know, this is free information that you're getting and that I bill for. I'll be honest with you. I charge for this information, but I respect what Ron's doing. I respect what he's doing in the community. And those of you that aren't contributing time or billable hours to the community, get out, do something, let people know about this station, and make sure you support it. And that's all I got on it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate those words.
Yep. Got you.
All right, you take care.
All right.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to WSAN Radio. Catch us on our YouTube channel, WSAN Radio SA. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification button.